and we can read different information from a person. So the whole issue when we are discussing how do extraterrestrials communicate with humans is dependent on the physical race that you are dealing with. If the Greys in particular are very good with telepathic communication, they're also good at dimensional shifting, moving through different energy frequencies, and also communicating on a one-to-one level. Other beings, such as higher density beings, such as beings we call the blue energies, they work directly from an energetic format, and quite often when they are communicating, it will seem as though all the walls have fallen away. There's no roof, no floor, there are no more physical boundaries around us, and all of us just know what is being said to us, and no real communication is required. One thing the extraterrestrial races like to do is to teach, and when they teach, they pass and impart knowledge to humans, and then they expect, like any teacher, that the information will be then passed on to other humans. So it's quite often that they will communicate, they will pass information on, and then see how humans carry that information forward. Do they keep that to themselves, or will they be brave enough, I guess, to manifest that information and let it flourish? And it could be something as simple as teaching another person how to create an etheric crystal via intent through the thought process.
Yeah, that's interesting about the communication, because that's something I wanted to ask actually about, because my feeling and understanding about some of the meditations and spiritual work we do is that we often receive these downloads. Now, often these happen during the night when we're sleeping, and we often have these vivid dreams.
She just came back up.
Now, the thing I was wondering about is how this information is actually shared, because obviously not all of it's verbal, is it? Because some of it's carried in frequency, isn't it? It's like a subconscious thing. It's like you can sit down at a table with a complete stranger, and it's like they pick up things from you without really being aware of it. And so a lot of what because human beings are transmitters, aren't they, of information, not just verbally but psychically, intuitively. This is the reason why sometimes we know that there's somebody, the person at the other end of the phone, when it rings, we know before we pick it up who it is, because that information has travelled by another means. So that is my impression anyway. Would you agree with that? And if, well, whether or not you do or not, how would you say this information is channeled between people? Is it just verbally, or what?
Look, that's a really good question. What I'm actually going to do is read something from the book. The extraterrestrials have talked about a grid that runs around the Earth, and it flows from the direction from east to west. And they say, and finally I can actually say what their words are, and you might understand that the cadence of the way that they work, the way that they speak is a bit different, but this is what they say. They say that the resonant energies of the grid, or the matrix, is not just part of this planet. The grid is like a fluctuating wave vibrating through the universe, and it holds all space and time, although time is a misnomer in regards to how you perceive the distances travelled between birth and death. We believe that you are asking about the grid of the Earth, the one which permeates this planetary structure. You are all part of the grid. You all are. As the grid changes, so do you. The changes are subtle in some instances. When you are in tune with the grid, you feel grounded. It is an electronic waveform. Your etheric body links into that process, and then you become part of that resonating frequency. The grid is used by many races and beings, somewhat like a communication process. Not only does it aid in the telepathic communication between your beings of this planet, but we use it as well. It will aid in the evolution of the planet. All conscious thought is placed into the grid, and the grid has many functions and aspects. No one owns the grid. The grid is not controlled by anybody. It is the manifestation of universal energies, and everything has an individual resonating grid. Every specific energy has its own grid. All is one. It is like separating one drop of water from the ocean. The grid provides healing. It can provide cellular disruption. If it becomes unstable, it can cause deficiencies in the earth, the people of your planet. In certain places in the grid, you will notice that wars on the planet's surface. In those specific places, the grid may be out of resonance. If a mass population is living in fear, this energy causes an energetic cancer in the grid. Imagine, if you could, a stone dropped into a pond. The pond without the stone is like glass. The surface tension is resonating at a fine frequency. But once something is placed into the pond, it feeds and disturbs the surface tension. The grid emanates from each planet, but it is also joined as one. Each physical item has its own grid and links into the main grid. Everything is all. Your thought patterns create the resonance around you. A positive thought resonates and thus changes your etheric body. Thus, as it is attached to the grid, it can change the grid. Your thought patterns create the resonance around you. A positive thought resonates. This one question brings up many possibilities. Obviously, your cellular self can be intertwined with other energies. This can cause a link between self and other cells, as all energies are able to then link to all other energies at a cellular and energetic level. They then go on to talk about the symbiotic relationship between people and extraterrestrials. And they're saying that for people to truly understand their own energetic and extraterrestrial nature, they have to understand that even themselves are living in a symbiotic relationship, themselves being physical beings and themselves also being energetic or spiritual beings. So there's a duality of self, and they say that by understanding that symbiotic relationship, that relationship also can extend out to extraterrestrial races, angelic beings and other energetic beings. Once we understand that we are living in a symbiotic relationship with many beings around us, then we understand that the communication just is. So it's about understanding that we aren't just third dimensional beings, that we're living in many different levels at one time.
Wow, that is such a revelation to me. Actually, that just answers such a lot of questions, because I was thinking while you were talking that it almost sounds like a huge hard drive, a magnetic storage medium, but on a complete universal scale, because the slightest magnetic pulse near a hard drive disk would store that information on the disk.